All right, another live stream. Just gonna wait for YouTube to catch up here so I know that things are working and people are actually here. So I'm just gonna keep refreshing that until it seems like it's working. Until I'm not the only one here, all by myself. Just see how long it takes. Enjoy some 7-Up Zero in the meantime. Gonna try and sit up straight this whole stream. All right, looks like we're live here. Is the audio working? I can't even hear my own audio. I don't even know what's going on. Oh, there we go. It's like no audio device was selected somehow. Okay, we're going. All right, so I'll show my screen this time properly for real. Trying a little bit of a slightly different look here this time. Instead of full screening everything, I've kind of got a little bit of the background showing and cropping things a little bit. I don't know. You tell me if this is nicer or not. We'll see. So yeah, basically I just want to see if we can build out this guy and see how far we can get with it. I don't know what font Steve is using here. Switzer. Oh yeah, we talked about switching to that. Is he using that everywhere now? Okay, cool. So there's some elements here that are going to be shared with some things we've already built. So we'll probably just copy and paste some stuff around, and at some point in time I'm going to need to go comb through this stuff and figure out what abstractions we actually want here. But for now we'll just focus on banging this thing out. There's going to be some interesting little challenges, I think, so we'll see where we get with it. Okay, so I've got just an empty page set up over here. I've got the stuff that we've been working on all week kind of slammed in over here in this other tab so we can grab stuff as needed. But otherwise, we're just going to rip through it. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure that we're using this font Steve is using here. So we were just looking for different fonts to try out. I think I've actually got it set up here already. I was playing with Inter as well. We use Inter on like everything. So we're trying to find something new to use. So our templates have some slightly different personalities to them. We really love Inter though, so it's hard not to fall back to it. But Steve wanted to give this Switzer font a try this time. So let me just make sure I've got that set up here. Yeah, I do. You can see we're also trying a General Sans for a moment there. So this is a Tailwind 4 project right now, so we're customizing the built-in sans serif font, which is, this utility basically, by just setting a CSS variable in this custom theme directive that we're adding for Tailwind 4. So that should basically be good. I think if we pull open the regular page, I think this is probably using that font now. Yeah, so everything is Switzer here, so we're good. So let's head over to the pricing page and think about how we want to structure this. So there's a couple things. So first we've got our sort of nav bar. That's the same as the nav bar from the other page we were working on. Although I wouldn't be surprised if there's some things you might want to think about doing differently, because on the other page it was in this container on the other page where we had to sort of like manually compensate for this gap here. It's making me think I actually might want to build this hero a bit differently, because I have some ideas about how I want to build this that are going to be a bit different. So we'll just have to see. This little blob thing in the background, I don't even know what we're going to do for that yet, so that'll be kind of fun to figure out. And there's a weird shadowy blur thing behind this card, and it's always kind of just fun trying to figure out the best way to do this sort of vertical offset trick. There's a couple different ways to do it, so we can explore that as well and see where we get. So why don't we just grab the that nav bar to start. So let's find our hero, and yeah, I think it's just this component. So I'm just gonna grab that. Let's call it like our nav bar here, And we'll just render that in here and see what we need to tweak. So head over to the pricing page here. You guys are just looking at my bookmarks. Oh no. Logo is not defined. Fair. Okay. Grab that logo component. Oh my goodness. We could probably just move this to a file. One thing with the next app directory stuff that I still haven't really, I don't know, figured out is where people are just putting shared components. Is it common to just do like a components directory outside the app directory? Something like that? I don't know. Let's try that and see if that works. And grab this guy and export that. And let's see. Let's just see if we can get the home page to keep working. So we'll import logo from. Do they have this set up by default in Next Apps? Okay, so it's defined multiple times. That's okay. So let's see if we delete this one. Yeah, it works. So they do have that import alias set up. So that's cool. All right, so we've got the logo and we can import that. Now, what am we getting for this error here? That's the logo. Okay. So let's import logo from components logo and head back to the pricing page. Okay, so this is something. I think we're going to want to, again, tweak this navbar. In this design, Steve doesn't have the banner here. So just so it's easy for us to compare what we're doing, I think we should do the same thing and drop that banner. Oh yeah, there's a lot of noise in here because of all the grid line stuff. Okay, so I think this is the banner. Okay. So how did we build those grid lines again? They were like absolute positioned outside of the box. So in theory, they should be fully truncated at the top. Okay. So if we want to measure where this stuff should go, I think we basically want to look at this gap, which is like 76 pixels. So in Tailwind units, I don't know what that is. That'd be like PT. So 64. Do we have an 18? No. 80. So I don't know. We'll try 20 and see what that gets us. So we'll do like a PT 20 on this to start, just so we can see that sort of showing up. And then let's figure out where all this stuff is. So here's like the logo. It's 114 from the edge. And then I think we're going to want to, is there like padding on this? No. So, I mean, I think we're probably just going to want to think of the whole thing as being 114. That's 104. That's 112 on that side. From this, it's 104. Like that doesn't, oh, the logo is supposed to line up with the card, which is 112. What was I measuring wrong here? Why am I getting 114? Maybe just the bounding box on that's slightly different. 112 divided by 4 is 28. So yeah, that's that same padding that we had before. So thinking about how this was built, there was like some, yeah. Starting to ring a bell again. Okay, so we'll slap PX28 on here, see what that gives us. This thing still goes edge to edge, but now you can see we've actually got some horizontal overflow. Do we have that on the home page too? No? Okay, so there's something that's causing that. It makes me wonder if it's that seems like it wouldn't cause it, but I would have expected in this case now that for this to just be inset 28, negative inset x 28, but that's not quite right. So, this is kind of the problem with copying and pasting stuff. Sometimes you don't really remember how stuff was built. So this is, yeah, I mean, since it's apps, I'm surprised it's that wide on the side, if I'm being honest. Is it because this is not taking into account the padding already? Maybe this just needs to be inset 0. Yeah, okay. So when you absolute position something, the top and left right stuff is relative to the containing box, not including the padding. So we have some padding here on this box. So this is just going to be fine in this case. So everything there is sort of in the right spot. Again, if we wanted to make it bang on perfect, we need to make it 4 pixels less. But for this type of positioning, I try not to get into arbitrary values because it's the sort of thing where I could probably talk to Steve and he just wouldn't care about which one it was. He probably just kind of eyeballed it a little bit. Or maybe in his mind, he's maybe measuring this number, or I don't know, he could be measuring, yeah, that's 99. This is 96. Yeah. I'm not sure what he was using as his reference point. Oh, you know what? I think we also need to move this because of how we've been doing like all the max width stuff. So this is probably going to actually change the implementation of some stuff. So let's add our .max width 7xl.mx auto because that's what we've been doing for all this stuff. And now this is probably going to be wrong. Okay, so now I'm thinking we need to bring back that negative inset x 28 on this and inset y 0. And hopefully that's right now. Okay. So that's good. And yeah, we just drop it in the navbar and things are working. And now we can do our headline and stuff. So we're sticking H1 in there with a P tag, not inside of it, but under it. And this is going to be, what was it? Pricing that grows with your team size. Grows with your team size. In some ways, that's kind of like a fun H1 that makes sense. It's like pricing that, if you don't think about it too much, it sounds like reasonable, but it's actually kind of funny because it's basically just saying like the more people you hire, the more money we're going to charge you. So yeah, kind of good. Come on. Well, please let me select the text. Let me just reload this tab. Actually, you know what? I haven't installed this font. So we're just going to struggle to select this text. I wonder if I can select it here. Oh, yeah. Hacker. Oh, that's some funky wrapping there, but what can you do? Okay, so let's get some of this sizing and stuff in there. So text, was it 5? 6XL? Yeah, this is what we've been using so far. What color is this? So far we've been using gray 950 for most things. On the other page, so I'm just going to assume that that's supposed to be gray 950. All right, text gray 950. So we've got that there. We're going to need to do that same page container sort of trick. We could probably make like a little component for that too. Okay. And let's bring this up so it's closer to the same size. This is what we're looking at in the Figma file. So in this one is 24 with a 32 pixel line height. So that's going to be text 2XL over 8, font medium, text gray 950 at 60%, it looks like. And what's the gap here? 18 pixels. That's not a Tailwind value. So we can either go MT5 or MT4. Let's see. That's probably fine. Better to do more space than less, probably. And then if we measure up to this, that's 104.26. We don't really have that. Let's just do I still, after doing this for so many years, don't really have a good sense of, like, when, in this case, part of me wants to make this padding on this container, but it also just doesn't matter. So yeah, it kind of depends how you want to think about it, I guess. But I think I'm going to do margin because this has this stuff that sticks outside of the container. And if we make it padding, then added a background color to this, it would actually cover that up. So maybe that's a good reason to use margin on this one. So 28 is going to be 112 pixels. 24 is going to be 96 pixels. So I guess we'll do 28. And then I guess we need to wrap this too. So this is going to max width of 871, which is, what's that close to, I wonder? Probably pretty close to 4XL. Steve might be deliberately doing a line break after the second sentence, but let's just do the max width 4XL and max width 4XL. I can usually tell if I've made a mistake in a Tailwind class because I hit save and the classes don't change order because I almost never put them in the right order. Okay, so that's wrapping properly anyways. Okay, cool. So that's something. And now we can look at the cards and the background gradient. So I was thinking about how I might build this for a minute before jumping on the stream. And often in the past, the way that I would have built this is to put these as like children of this element and then used like negative top margin to pull them out. But sometimes that can just like be really tricky to sort of get right, especially because pulling those up ends up pulling these up, which leaves more gap at the bottom that you have to sort of compensate for. So I'm kind of thinking maybe an interesting way to do it in this case would be to actually build this as like a block that's this tall and build it with no gradient, and just assume that there's like padding of 96 here the same way there's padding of 96 at the bottom, and then build the gradient as like an absolute positioned sort of decorative element inside of it that's positioned with a top value that's explicitly pushing it down from the top of the container. I think that might be the absolute easiest way to do it. And the other nice thing about that is we don't have to think about this like little padding at the side either. We don't have to think about how that impacts where we position this relative to the edge of the page because it's just going to be part of the absolute element. So I think that's how I want to try and build it this time around. So I guess we'll just grab our guy here again. And I think we're going to have no margin on this one because for this one, yeah, for whatever reason, it feels right to me to think of it as a box that's this big and that has top and bottom padding. So yeah, so let's just start by making a container for these cards. And I think I'll just make like a pricing card component here just so we can prototype just one of them at a time, but still have them sort of like all fill in there. So we've got a pricing card. I guess we'll make like starter the H2, and then we'll have a P tag for everything you need to start hiring, start hiding. And then we've got a section here that's kind of got your $99 followed by yeah, how do we want to, it really doesn't matter like what elements we use here, you know. I try to pick divs and spans based on like their default display type, like when that would be useful, so we have less classes to use. In this case, like this is going to be a flex container, this is going to be a flex child, which ends up behaving like a block container, so it like literally doesn't matter really. So I don't know, we could make them all divs, but whatever. Get those in place there, and then we're going to have a section under that with a link for starting a free trial. And then we're going to have a section with, I don't know if you would really consider that a title. But yeah, whatever. Let's make it a title. I don't know that you'd want it in the document outline, but what can you do, you know? So we'll have up to 5 active job listings, up to 8 boards per job, share jobs on select job boards, and then employee onboarding. Okay, so let's see. That's all our stuff. Yeah, so now we can try and style it. Okay, so let's just look at the padding first. So it looks like 40 pixels of padding except at the bottom. So we'll just do P10 PB9 and border radius. I mean, we could probably reuse the stuff that we did on the home page. If you recall, we had this feature section that we kind of built out here that had that same sort of wrapper guy, but it had an image and stuff inside of it, so it is slightly different, but it's probably the sort of thing that I should componentize at some point. So let's look at the rulers again. So the rulers, yeah, interestingly, we're aligning the white part of the card with like the real page content, and then the sort of stuff around it is like outside of the grid. Let's look at that for a second and think. Like maybe we can build that with just an offset ring. And this one has like an inner shadow too, like a white inner shadow. Where was that? It's most noticeable down here. So that makes me think it has to be an element. Okay, so I'm trying to think now how we're going to want to do this from a margins perspective. I think the card container is going to need to have like negative horizontal margin on it. Okay, so let's wrap this whole thing up with another div so that we can do this effect on it. So this has a border radius of 32, rounded. This was what we said 4XL didn't exist in Tailwind, right? So we'll just do this 2rem. And this has a padding of 8, so we'll call that 2 here. That means this needs a rounded, I think this one is 24, so that can just be 3XL. And let's see. So obviously we have nothing so far. That kind of makes sense actually. I'm just going to stick like a background color on this for a second of like pink 200 or something, just so we sort of have something to look at. And actually I'm going to put that on this element, just so we have sort of a reference for the area that we're even working in. So we'll give this a white background, and we'll stick 3 of them here, and we'll make it a grid. Grid calls 3, and the gap between these, because we're going to want to do it based on the outer ones, is 16, so that's a gap of 4. Cool. And then we can add this shadow stuff to this element. So I think Steve made this sort of a red shadow. That's not a Tailwind color. So it's like a deep red. It's kind of like a red 900, maybe, at 10%. So let's do like ring red 900 at 10%. Okay. And then there's also like an inset ring. What's this shadow, by the way? That's like a real shadow. That is probably like a shadow XL or something. Maybe a shadow 2XL. I don't know. Something like that. Oh, it's interesting that the visual effect of having the shadow makes this pink look lighter than this pink. But I think like if we sip that, FBC FE8, FBC FE8. So this color and this color are the same, but they really aren't perceived that way. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so there is an inner shadow here, which is that really subtle white ring. Now Steve has given that a blur. So this is one of those things where it's like Tailwind doesn't really have a built-in thing for this, but we can do it, especially in V4. It's not too bad. We can say inset shadow 0, 0, 2 pixels, 1 pixel, RGB, or can we do this? Inset shadow white 30. Does that work? Doesn't look like it. It'd be cool. I mean, if I make this black, I think then it'll work. Yeah, so that needs to have a color. I wonder if we could fix that in Tailwind itself. Because the way these inset shadow color utilities work is they sort of like replace the color that's set here. I wonder if you don't pass a color to a shadow, if we can just like add black, because I'm pretty sure that's what the browser is doing. Like if we go and inspect this element, you can see where's like the inset shadow utility. So this is the box shadow, inset 0, 0, 2 pixel, 1 pixel. And I'm pretty sure the browser like accepts that. Yeah, so it defaults it to black. So I almost feel like we should parse the shadow and add black ourselves so that our colored shadow can actually replace it. There's so much crazy CSS variable stuff that makes all these features of Tailwind work. But yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't really want to just like put white here or something just to have a color there that this can then override. But it's also annoying to have to say like RGB. Well, you know what the trick is here? We'll use like a hex code again. 30% is going to be 256 times 0.3. So what's like 77 in hex 4D? So that's going to be FF, FF, FF 4D. And now that I see that, that's definitely familiar. And we did that on the other thing we were working on. Okay, so now this card has an outer stroke that's black at 6%. We're going to call that black at 5%. So ring, black 5. And does that look right? Yeah, I think that looks pretty right. And just for now, let's throw like some vertical padding on this just so you can sort of see these cards a bit better. Okay. Yeah. The comment about the red outline, I actually talked to Steve about that, and he said that was because he copied this and pasted it over on the homepage, and just didn't realize that it didn't really make sense there because you can barely visually tell the difference anyways. And same with the white shadow. Yeah, just didn't need it there because it was on a white background. So it's just a result of him like reusing the same piece of stuff from Figma. Okay, so I guess we just want to maybe style the inside of the card now. Actually, it looks like this card has a shadow on it too. So that also has a 2XL shadow. That's kind of a neat little trick. So it's like a stacked shadow thing. We're going to have to, let's look at this shadow for a second. What is the actual values? So let's look at Tailwind Shadow XL. So that's like a 25 pixel blur. So maybe that one should be more like an LG. No, it's probably this one because he's got no spread here, and we do have like a negative spread on this one. Oh, but he's got that as a colored shadow too. Interesting. What one did I say that was? Shadow XL? Okay, so let's change that outer shadow to Shadow XL. And I think I need to change the way that these sort in Tailwind 4. I'd like the ring and the ring color to be close to each other. Nice. Got permission from my wife to have pizza for dinner. Winning. Is this that same red as before? No, this is a much lighter red. What's the closest red? It looks like it's pretty close to red 400, would you say? What looks closer? No, probably 3. So we'll call it red 300 at 30%. Shadow red 300, 30%. Yeah, see, this is weird that ring is sorted here, then the shadow and shadow color are sorted next, and then the ring colors after that. It's crazy, man. How many things we need to still improve. That looks weird to me. Does that only look weird because we need to get the background color of the gradient right? I mean, it's a pretty tinted shadow there. Oh, you know what? I think it's different on each one. Here it's a small black shadow. Tailwind, shadow, just shadow, MD. Yeah, probably that one. Okay, so let's just do shadow MD 5%. And then that one at the beginning that's got the different shadow, I think we'll just want to think about how to do that one differently. Okay, cool. Yeah, the Raycast extension, yeah, if that's something that people find useful, then I think we can think about a way to polish it off and release it. We mostly use it for troubleshooting, honestly. But even just on this stream, I'm finding like, you know, testing out, trying to see what the different values are and stuff like that. Obviously, like you can just do that in the editor too with IntelliSense. But maybe we could even make this like a little nicer where, oh, the slouching is starting. I noticed it, and I'm going to keep slouching. Maybe we could somehow have you type in like max width, and maybe you could do something like this, or maybe there's a way that we could get it to show you all the different values or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure we could come up with some cool things. All right, let's okay, so the other thing I wanted to do was like pull this out. So this was like, we have to make up for this margin. So like I was mentioning, if you look at this ruler, the ruler lines up with the card, and that's like where the actual gutter is on the page, not the outer card. So we have to sort of compensate for that here. So we can just do like negative MX2, and that should be enough to pull it out. And now if we just kind of check, yeah, you can see the card lines up with the center of these guys. Uh-oh, I gave Robin an idea. By the end of the stream, he'll have deployed an updated Raycast plugin that I need to download and play with. I do have a standing desk. I do not have a walking pad, but I was actually looking at buying one today. There's so many of them on Amazon that it's hard to tell what a good one would be. But anyways, let's see if we can start styling the actual contents of this card. So we've got, this guy is going to be a text XS over 5, font mono, font semi-bold, and then 878787, eh? Tailwind color, that's not a Tailwind color. If we just look at the grays, it seems like it's probably maybe 500. Let's go gray 500. And I'm always forgetting the uppercase here. And there's probably some tracking on it too, right? Tracking widest. Okay. And then we've got 8 pixels here. So MT2, text SM over 6, font semi-bolds, or sorry, font regular. So I need to do it with that. I think I remember that color being what we wanted to use as what we wanted to call gray 950. What am I doing here? Text 2M? Come on. And then we've got a gap here of 32. So 8, and that's going to be a flex container. And what's the gap between this and this? 16, so we can go with gap 4. And this is 48. So text, do we have 48? And the line height is auto. So we'll see what that actually ends up meaning for us. And this is text gray 950. And yeah. Okay, so now, come on. So this is just centered. So item center, and then is there a gap between these? No, these are just stacked on top of each other. These are both the same, I think. Text SM over 5, 950 at 75%. Text SM over 5, text gray 950, 75. And that should be not right because this needs to be a okay, so let's update all these to be divs, and honestly, whatever, these can be p tags. Okay, so this doesn't look quite right. That's got a height of 20. SM over 5 is 20. Together, that has a height of 40. What's the size of this diff? That is 40 as well. Maybe it's fine. For some reason, my eyes are seeing this as tighter, but maybe it's just a matter of getting all this stuff in the right spot. Yeah, okay, I guess, yeah, I don't know. Let's just try and get the rest of the design details right, and maybe it'll seem more obvious then. Oh, all right, so then we got this thing that holds the button. That's 32 pixels away as well. Oh, typed that in the wrong spot. Oh, typed that in the wrong spot. MT8. And then the button itself. So that's 12 pixels of vertical padding, 16 horizontal. So that's PY3, PX4, rounded, full, inline flex. Oh, it doesn't need to be inline flex. There's a gap here, but there's nothing requiring that. BG gray 950. And just text base over with a line height of 1. Okay, so we'll do base over 4. Font medium. That should be pretty close. So font color, or text color. Text white. Yeah, we could do space Y8 on the cards. It just kind of depends if we believe that relationship is actually linked, or if it's just like happens to be the same, you know? If Steve ever wanted to increase the spacing here, then all of a sudden we'd have to like drop the space Y8 or wrap this in a group and add a different margin. So unless we feel like we want to adjust all of them together at the same time, I generally just use margins. I think this has a shadow actually too. What do we think that one is? Shadow. Oh my goodness. Come on, there we go. So what was it, like 10 and 4? MD. That's probably the closest one. All right. We do need to give this a display type. I'll make it inline flex. All right, and then we get that spacing fixed there. Okay, so the unordered list at the bottom. So again, yeah, we know that that's 32 pixels because that's the same everywhere. The headline is text SM. Text SM over 6, font medium, text, that's Zinc 950, but we're going to stay consistent here and use the same ones for everything. And then the actual UL, we've got a gap of 12. So that's going to be 3. And then we're going to want to think about how to do the list markers. Let's get the text right first. So these are all going to be, text SM over 6, text gray 950 75. And what's the gap between each item? So wait, what's the height of this? 24. Okay, so that's fine. So this whole list has a gap of 12 on it. So this is a case where I definitely would use space Y3 because there's, a relationship between these, and we'd probably want to change all of them together. Okay, so that's something. So let me think about the way we could handle the list marker, since it's like a custom SVG. A lot of the time in with just raw CSS, you might use like a background image for that with like some padding. Can we use like the marker feature? List markers. So this will let us change the color of the markers. I don't know if we can make it like an SVG using the content property. Yeah, but that's not going to let us make it an SVG, just a character. I mean, we can do it as like a before pseudo element thing, but then you still are going to want to use a yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Let me look at Tailwind UI for a second and see if there's any. Where do maybe we have some custom. Yeah, like how did we do these check marks? That's perfect. However we did those is probably the way that we should do this. So yeah, we just put the check icon in there and used aria hidden true. That is kind of what I thought. Okay, so we definitely thought really hard about everything that we did here. So I'm going to do it the same way here. So is this just a Heroicon? It is a 15 by 15 icon. So I guess we're just going to copy that. That makes it odd to center with this, but like it's 4.5 pixels on either side. I mean, we can do it. Okay, so I've copied the SVG, and then I usually use transform.tools and grab the sort of JSX version of this. So let's just do like plus icon. Plus icon, and I think we'll accept an optional class name. And stick that guy here. And we don't need this or this. Oh, wow. Why did that come out as 16? That's pretty dark. That's a bit odd, wouldn't you say? Let's make a explicit 15 by 15 artboard and put this inside of it and just copy the artboard for a second, just in case that gives us a different result. Okay, so yeah, that gave us a different result. So let's get rid of the fill and copy this again. Don't know why that gave us a different result. And This can go. So can that. And so can that. The slouching is getting extreme. Let's reset here. Oh, all right. Okay, so we don't need the width and height, although 15 pixels is not a Tailwind unit. But since we want to edge, I think it's just gonna kind of be something we have to live with. So let's just slap this guy in here for a second. Wow, that was a thing. And think about how to do this. So this is going to be flex. Item center is very naive. I don't think that's going to be correct. And then this is going to have to be like size, horrible number in rems. And what was the color that we had for this guy? It's like a solid gray color. What's this color? So that's BG, that's gray 950 at 25%. Those should probably be the same to me. So I'm just gonna roll with that. Maybe one day I can get, I can figure out how to get Steve on here with me, and we can sort of, it might be fun to watch how me and him like build stuff together. I guess this needs to either be fill or stroke. Why is that so thick? What's the stroke width on this? Oh, it needs to be a fill. That's the real problem here. Okay. Yeah, if I could get Steve on here, it'd be kind of fun maybe for people to just like listen to me and him build some of these things together, because there's always so much back and forth between the design and development side, figuring things out that are just like that you don't even think about when you're working in Figma. Question about social media icons and heroicons. Honestly, because I don't know if like that's legally something we can safely do. And I don't think Steve wants to redraw them. There's a site, I think this is it, simpleicons.org. This site has icons for like every brand. Steve and I, though, for our own stuff, we usually just go to the company's, like if you go to GitHub brand assets or whatever, you know, we would just like come here and download the logo and then stick it in Figma and crop it down and resize it however we need to. But yeah, I've always been a little hesitant about like including them directly here without getting permission from all those companies, because it feels like we're like it's not like open source graphic, you know. It's clearly, it's probably fine because so many other sites do it, but yeah. A question about view templates. I don't think we have any concrete plans to do the templates in Vue. It's definitely not off the table, but we build all our own stuff in React, and that's like what we enjoy the most and what we're the most comfortable with. I could see us doing it maybe one day, you know, but I just can't make any promises about it. One of the big reasons that it's a challenge is there's a lot of libraries and stuff that we use that only exist in React, like Framer Motion, for example. So if we wanted to port a template to Vue, we'd have to figure out a way to implement the same stuff, and that can often mean like reinventing the wheel and having to rewrite a whole library for a different framework. So yeah, I agree, it'd be nice if we could just wave a magic wand and have them exist for sure, but it's unfortunately not quite as simple as I wish it was. Okay, so let's get this gap going here. So 31. Is that what Steve actually put in the... No, he has a gap of 16. So what was I... Okay, thank goodness. It is 16. All right, so let's do a gap of 4 here. And, that's starting to look right. So one thing that you kind of have to watch out for a lot when you're building this sort of thing, and let me also just do aria hidden true on these guys. One thing you have to watch out for when you're building these like custom list styles, it's very tempting to just want to use like item center to center the icon with the text. But if for whatever reason, some more text to make this long enough to wrap to another line, now the icon is in the wrong spot. Also, we got to make sure that none of these shrink. So let's fix that quickly. So really what you always want here is you want to center the icon with the first line of text. So I have found 2 ways to do that in the past. One is to just literally, instead of centering it, rely on like a margin top. So in this case, it would be like 4.5 pixels, which is kind of annoying to put in there. Another way is to wrap the icon with another element that has a height that matches the line height of the text and flexbox center it in there. So I'll show you both approaches. So if we just wanted to do like margin top 4.5 pixels, and we want it in rem because we want the site to scale, so that's going to be like 4.5 divided by 16, horrible value. And then head up here and just maybe do items start. So now that stays like aligned with the first line, but it's like a very sort of imperative way of doing it, I would say. It's probably the fastest for the browser to compute and does require the least amount of markup, to be totally fair. But I'll show you another way. So the other way that I've done in the past is to like wrap this in a span, give these spans an explicit height that matches the line height of this text. So in that case, it's 6. And then make this like an inline flex container and center things inside of it. And now you have the same effect because there's like a little box here wrapping the icon that matches the height of the text. And we're just telling the browser, you center it. And now we don't have to think about the 4.5 pixel thing. So I kind of like this because it feels like I'm letting the browser do the work for me, but of course it's a little bit nasty in some ways too, because making the browser do the work kind of feels like it has downsides too, but whatever. So anyways, I think like we basically got that looking right. Maybe we can stick this stuff in a loop. So we're not repeating all this stuff. I'll just copy that stuff, paste that stuff in here, do some of this cleanup, and render the feature here. And then we can delete all this stuff. So at least it feels like we're only like defining all this kind of nastier stuff once. Okay, next, logos. This is always a pain because these are all different heights and whatever. Yeah, and it's hard to this has got a height of 54 pixels. Do we want to bother exporting all these? Let's not do the logos because I don't want to, it's going to take a bit of time. Basically my trick for doing this stuff so that these things like stay properly aligned with each other, and to make them easy to size with Tailwind. I don't even think we have like a utility for 54 pixels in height for what it's worth. But you can see like this Netflix logo is 27.03 pixels tall. This is 31.35. This is 54. This is 25. So it ends up, you have to like really like manually size everything in the markup. Or what I'll often do is I'll just like make an artboard, like say this is 104 by 31.5, and we know the container is like 54. So what was it? What was the width again? 104. So I'll just make like something that's like 104 by 54, and then I'll grab the Shopify logo and I'll paste it in here, and that didn't go in the right spot. Paste it in this frame, vertically center it, and I'll export the logo with this artboard, and I'll do it the same thing for every single logo here. So the actual files are all the exact same height. And then it's really easy to like build, you know. But why don't we just try and get this like gradient thing working? And then I probably got to wrap it up for the day. Maybe we get to the blob. Probably not. But I'll do more streaming next week. I'm having a good time doing this stuff. Okay, so gradient. So this is kind of how I was thinking about doing it. Let's go to the home page. We have a gradient box here somewhere. This guy, I think. Let's find our pricing section. The thing that is going to hold everything, I believe, is going to be this guy. So what I'm thinking is we throw a relative on this. We slap this dude in. We give him an absolute, and we just kind of see where the cards fall, first of all. So that is wrong. So let's do an inset 0. And then let's throw a relative on this guy. Okay, so now we've got like something where things are sort of in the right place-ish. So if you look at this thing, it needs to be inset 8 pixels from that edge. So let's just do like let's just do inset x2, bottom 0, and we'll do top 0 to start. Right, so that's pretty close. Where's the padding? Let's make this PY20 just so we can scroll past this a little bit so you can sort of see. Yeah. But now we got to sort of accommodate the gap here, right? So that's got me kind of thinking, if we're considering this left edge to be outside of the real like containing box, then I think we should consider the top edge to be outside of the containing box too. And that kind of is going to work out better for us because 104 is not a Tailwind value, but 96 is. So let's throw a negative my. Let's make a negative m2 on this. And with any luck, this element, no, it's still not working for the vertical. Sometimes you have to do horrible things like this. Okay, so that container is right. Okay, so that worked, and I can barely explain why. Basically, for negative margins to often work, you often need to have like an element with a display type that explicitly stops margin collapsing. So flow root is like the same as block, except it creates like a border or like a margin collapse boundary where margins won't collapse past this boundary. So that's allowing like this element to now think that this element is this height, 480 instead of 496, which is what this is actually rendered as here. So this kind of acts like a clipping container for the stuff that's inside of it. So with that in place, I think all we have to do is, what did we say, 96? You might be able to hear my daughter arguing with my wife downstairs. She'll be embarrassed about that when I play the stream for her at her wedding, in 20 years or whatever. So let's do top 24, and that's not going to work, is it? So it's 96 plus this 96. So 96 times, I guess I can just do fucking 24 times 2 is 48. Yeah, right? So that's like the general idea. So we've got, this is like the actual container that's holding the whole thing. And this is just kind of positioned in there based on like the padding and stuff. And then this element is like not a parent of these at all. It's just like a graphical stamp that we've just slapped there at the bottom, and we're using like top, bottom, left, and right to position it a certain distance from that edge. And I think that's actually like a nice sort of clean solution. So if things like wrap, you'll see like this does grow, you know, to make sure, basically it makes sure this gap is always exactly that, and this gap is always exactly that. Yeah, so yeah, it didn't get all the way there, but we got pretty far. We could componentize this pricing card stuff a bit more. This feature, I guess, needs to be disabled, which it's not right now, but that's something that we could do next time. But anyways, yeah, if we go and take a look at like the design, you know, again, yeah, we didn't get to the logos, we didn't get the disabled thing in, we didn't get the blob in, but you know, it's pretty close, I think. Let's see if we can get the old like command tab trick working. Oh, the logo exported a little differently, it looks like. So that's like a detail that we're going to want to figure out probably too. And this width is a little different, it looks like. Probably just because, I don't know, whatever, something to figure out. But yeah, I don't know. I think this card thing looks nice. I think these cards look nice. I'm pretty satisfied with the general implementation. Glad I got to share this sort of list trick. Playing with some of this Tailwind 4 shadow stuff, and yeah, I found some just good ideas for improvements in Tailwind 4, which is one of the nice byproducts of doing all this work for sure. It's one of the reasons why I actually really like doing, like building a lot of this stuff that we do for Tailwind UI myself. Not everything, but enough of it that I can like pay attention to areas that we can make Tailwind better, because I think that's like, it's so easy to find ways to make Tailwind better if you're actually just like building stuff with it all day and paying attention to where things could be better. But yeah, oh man, Robin, look at this guy. Okay, let's see, Tailwind. Okay, how can I update this extension? Configure extension. How do you update an extension? I don't know how to update extensions. Type update. Where? Check for extension updates. Okay, let's see what he's done here. So if I just do BG red star. Oh man. What a great guy that Robin is. That is cool. So now we could do like max width star, and we could see like all the available max widths really quickly. Max width 7. No. Oh, I guess that is right. I think we can improve this sorting to like move the t-shirt sizes after the other stuff, or maybe we could like make it take like a regular expression or something. But this is awesome. Well done, sir. Cool. All right. Anyways, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Kind of fun stuff. I'll keep doing these streams next week. Having a good time. Thanks to everyone for coming and hanging out. And yeah, I'll catch you at the next one. See ya.